Jack never liked flying alone, but the job was good and the pay was better. So he took the risk. His small cargo ship cut through the dark space like a silver arrow, the stars stretching forever in every direction. He was thinking about home. When the warning lights flashed red, the ship's computers screamed about incoming fire, and before Jack could react, something slammed into the hull. The whole cabin shook. Alarms blaring, metal tearing. He grabbed the controls, but the ship spun out of control outside. Jack caught a glimpse of shadowy shapes tsunami crafts, fast and deadly. He didn't know who they were or why they attacked, but one thing was clear: he was going down. The crash was brutal. The ship smashed through a thick alien jungle, branches snapping like bones, fire licking at the sides. When it finally stopped, Jack's head was pounding and his ribs hurt with every breath. The air smelled strange, heavy with a sweet but dangerous scent. He unstrapped himself and staggered out, his boots sinking into damp soil. The sky above was a deep green, and massive tree-like plants towered over him. Somewhere far away, he heard the cry of an animal he couldn't name. Jack reached for his communicator, was dead. His oxygen meter blinked low. If this planet's air wasn't safe, he didn't have much time. He pushed forward, looking for shelter. The jungle was alive with movement, small glowing insects drifted past, while strange vines twitched as if they had a mind of their own. Then he saw her, at first. Jack thought it was another trick of this alien world, a figure lying in the ferns. Her skin a pale silver blue, her hair long and tangled. She was barely breathing, her chest rising in shallow gasps. Her clothes were torn, and a strange wound glowed faintly near her shoulder. When Jack moved closer, her eyes opened. They were a color he had never seen before, a shifting mix of gold and violet. Her voice was weak but urgent. Blood. Need your blood. Jack froze. He didn't understand, was she speaking English or something else that his mind somehow translated. She grabbed his arm with surprising strength. Her skin was cold, almost icy. I will die. Without it, she whispered, her voice trembling. You. Our match. Jack's heart pounded. It made no sense. Why would his blood matter to an alien? But when he looked at her face, pale and fading, he felt something stir inside him. A memory of his sister, sick and helpless, flashed in his mind. He had a choice: walk away and save himself, or take a risk and save her. Jack knelt beside her. All right. Tell me how, he said. Her hand fumbled with a small device strapped to her belt. It was like a medical injector, but the design was unlike anything human. She pressed it to his arm, and Jack felt a sharp sting. Warmth drained from him as his blood flowed into the device, then into her. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her eyes shot open, glowing brighter than before. Her breathing steadied, and color returned to her cheeks. Jack felt dizzy, his vision blurring. But he saw her looking at him in a strange way. You saved me. Now we are bound, she said softly, almost like a promise. Jack frowned, his head heavy. Bound. What do you mean? He asked, but she didn't answer. Instead, she sat up slowly, scanning the jungle with alert eyes. We must move, she said. They will come. Jack wanted to ask who they were, but a sound behind them froze the words in his throat. It was a deep growl, low and hungry. The trees shifted as something large moved between them. Jack felt a cold shiver in, then something even stranger. It wasn't just fear in his mind. It was her fear, too, somehow. He could feel it, like it was his own. The growl came again, closer this time. Zyra. He heard her name in his head. Though she hadn't spoken, it grabbed his arm. Her grip was firm, her voice urgent. Run. They stumbled through the jungle, roots catching at their boots, the ground slick and uneven. Jack's lungs burned, his legs ached, but the strange connection between them kept pulling him forward. Whatever hunted them was fast, its heavy steps shaking the ground. Leaves tore around them, and Jack caught a glimpse of glowing eyes in the shadows. The alien woman glanced back, her face tense. "If it catches us, we die," she said, her voice low. Jack gritted his teeth, clutching the strange weapon she had handed him. Somewhere deep down, he knew this crash was only the beginning. The jungle swallowed them in shadows. The air thick and heavy, Jack could hear his own heartbeat. But it wasn't just his. Another rhythm echoed inside him, faster, sharper hers. Zyra's grip on his arm tightened every time the sound of their pursuer grew closer. They broke through a curtain of hanging vines and stumbled into a clearing. The growls faded for now, but the silence felt just as dangerous. Zyra let go of his arm and collapsed against a fallen log. Her breathing was steady, but Jack could still feel her tension. He didn't understand it, and it unsettled him. "What's happening to me?" Jack asked, leaning against a tree. "I feel..." "Share," he said, his voice low. Zyra looked at him, her golden violet eyes serious. "It is the life bond," she said softly, "when my kind receives blood from another. Sometimes, something rare happens." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Rare? Like what?" "Like this," she said, pressing her hand over her chest. "Your blood is not just in MIT, is part of me now. And I am part of you." Jack tried to laugh it off, but the truth was already gnawing at him. "I can feel your emotions," he said slowly, "and you can feel mine." She nodded. "Yes. And more." Jack shook his head. "That's not possible. Possible or not." She replied, "It has happened." Jack wanted to argue, but then he remembered the way her name had entered his mind without her speaking it. "Zyra," he said, testing it. She smiled faintly. "You even know my name now?" Without asking, he rubbed the back of his neck, uneasy. "So, this bond. It's permanent." Zyra's expression darkened. Until death. Jack felt the weight of her words. He wasn't ready to be tied to anyone forever, let alone an alien he had met minutes ago. But before he could respond, a sharp pain shot through his side. Zyra flinched at the same moment, her hand pressing to her ribs. Their eyes met in shock. "That was you," Jack said. "That pain?" "Yes," Zyra interrupted. "We share wounds now, feelings, even thoughts if we try." Jack took a step back. "So if one of us dies, the other dies too." She finished for him, her tone grave. Jack cursed under his breath. That's insane," he said. Zyra's eyes softened. "It is rare, but sacred. Your people might call it fate." Jack didn't believe in fate, but he did believe in survival, and right now, survival meant sticking with her. He sighed. "All right, so we're stuck together. Now what?" "Now we find a safe place before the draw find us," Zyra said, standing slowly. Jack frowned. "Draw?" "They are hunters," Zyra said, her voice tightening. "They want me dead." "And now you too." Jack ran a hand over his face. "Great. So I saved you, and now I'm on their kill list." Zyra looked guilty. "You saved me. And for that, I am sorry you must face this." Jack waved it off. "Let's just get moving." They began walking again, sticking close together. Jack noticed the bond was making them oddly in sync when he shifted to avoid a route. She did the same without looking. When she paused to listen, he did too, without thinking. It was unnerving, but it also meant they moved like a team. The jungle seemed to close in on them the deeper they went. Strange glowing plants lit their path, casting their faces in shifting colors. The air was filled with distant calls, some high and shrill, others deep and rumbling. Jack tried not to think about which belonged to predators after an hour. They stopped to rest by a stream that shimmered with faint blue light. Zyra knelt and filled a small flask, handing it to him. "Drink," she said. Jack hesitated. "Is it safe?" She smirked. "You'll know if it isn't." He took a sip, surprised by the sweet, cooling taste as he drank. Zyra's gaze lingered on him. "What?" he asked, wiping his mouth. "I can feel your doubt," she said softly. "You wonder if I am telling the truth about the bond?" Jack shrugged. "Can you blame me?" "This is all a lot," she nodded. "I understand. But soon you will see." The moment was broken by a sudden noise, branches snapping in the distance. Zyra's hand went to the strange blade on her hip. "They found us," she whispered. Jack gripped the alien weapon she had given him earlier. Still not sure how to use it? The sound grew louder, the footsteps heavy, deliberate. Jack's heartbeat sped up. He felt Zyra's match his exactly. It wasn't just fear, now it was readiness, a shared instinct to fight. The shadow of something large moved between the trees. Zyra leaned close, her voice barely audible. "Stay with me." No matter what, the figure stepped into view. Its skin armored like black stone, eyes glowing red. Jack didn't know if it was a drawl or something worse. Zyra didn't wait. She moved like lightning, her blade flashing in the dim light. The creature roared, swinging a massive claw. Jack acted without thinking, firing the alien weapon. A beam of light tore into the beast's side. It staggered, snarling, before retreating into the trees. Jack's hands were shaking, but he could feel Zyra's approval in the bond. "You fought well," she said. Jack let out a long breath. "Let's hope I don't have to do it again." Zyra gave him a look that was half a smile, half a warning. "You will," she said. This was only the first. The jungle was restless, every shadow shifting like it was alive. Jack and Zyra moved quickly, their steps light but urgent. The bond between them pulsed with a low hum, like a thread of energy stretching tight. Jack could feel her tension growing, and he knew she felt his unease in return. They didn't speak for a long time, their focus fixed on getting as far as possible from the attack. But distance didn't mean safety. Zyra stopped suddenly, her hand shooting up to signal silence. Jack froze, listening. At first, he heard nothing. Just the faint drip of water and the hum of strange insects. Then he felt it through the band, a cold, sharp edge of fear. "They are near," Zyra whispered, her eyes scanning the dense undergrowth. Jack tightened his grip on the alien weapon. "How near?" he asked, her gaze flicked toward a ridge up ahead, close enough to smell us. They began moving again, but slower now. Jack noticed the plants here looked different, taller, with thick red leaves that curled like claws. The ground was softer too, sucking at their boots. Every step seemed louder than it should be. He glanced at Zyra. "Any idea where we're going?" "Yes," she said. "There is an old shelter in the cliffs. It still stands, and—" "If it doesn't?" Jack asked. She didn't answer, which told him enough. They were halfway to the ridge when the first sound came, a clicking noise, rapid and precise. Jack frowned. "What's that?" Zyra's face hardened. "Drawl scouts." The clicks grew louder, echoing from different directions. Jack's pulse quickened, and so did hers. "They're surrounding us," he said. "Yes," she replied, drawing her blade, "and they will force us to fight." Before Jack could respond, a figure burst from the trees ahead. Its body was tall and lean, covered in dark chitin, its face hidden behind a mask of bone. Two more emerged from the sides, each holding jagged, spear-like weapons. Jack's mouth went dry. Zyra didn't hesitate. She lunged forward, her blade slashing in a blur of motion. One drawl blocked her strike, the clash ringing out like metal on stone. The others closed in, their weapons aimed at Jack. His hands shook, but the bond gave him a surge of focus, Zyra's determination flooding into him. He raised the alien weapon and fired. A beam of blue light struck one Drawl in the chest, sending it crashing back into the trees. The remaining two moved fast, circling, their clicks turning into harsh screeches. Jack felt a jolt of pain in his shoulder's iris wound, but it only drove him forward. They fought together, their movements strangely timed. When Jack ducked, Zyra stepped in to cover him. When she moved left, he instinctively shifted right. It was like dancing, but every step was a fight for their lives. The last Drawl hissed, retreating into the jungle. Jack stood panting, sweat dripping down his face. Zyra glanced at him. "You're learning?" He gave a shaky laugh. "I'd rather not get used to it." Her expression stayed serious. "We must move. More will come." They climbed the ridge. The path steep and narrow. Twice Jack nearly slipped, but Zyra's hand was always there to steady him. The bond made their movements almost predictable to each other. They didn't need to speak to know when to stop, when to speed up, or when danger was close. When they reached the top, Jack's breath caught. The view stretched for miles, rolling green jungle, broken by silver rivers and jagged cliffs. In the distance, smoke curled into the sky. Zyra followed his gaze. "That is their camp," she said, her voice low. Jack's stomach sank. "Looks big." "It is," she replied, "and they will track us from there." They found the shelter, an old structure built into the cliffside, its walls covered in moss and strange symbols. Zyra ran her fingers over the carvings, a shadow passing over her face. "This was my people's outpost, long before the Drawl came," she said softly. Jack stepped inside. The air cool and dry compared to the jungle. There were signs of age, cracked stone, collapsed beams, but it was still standing. Zyra motioned for him to sit. "We rest here for a short time." Jack sat heavily, feeling the exhaustion hit him all at once. His body ached, and his head throbbed from the strain of the bond. "Will this connection ever stop?" he asked. "No," she said simply. "It will only grow stronger." Jack leaned back against the wall, unsure whether that was a comfort or a curse. His eyes closed for just a moment, but when they opened again, Zyra was staring at him. "What?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "I can feel something in you." "A question you are afraid to ask." Jack met her gaze. "What happens if they capture us?" Zyra's voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. "They will kill you, slowly. And they will make me watch." The words sat heavy in the air. Jack swallowed hard. "Then we don't get captured." She nodded once. "Agreed." Outside, a branch snapped. Both of them stiffened at the same moment. The bond carried the same surge of alertness between them. Zyra reached for her weapon, Jack following her. "Lead." The clicking started again, closer this time. Dozens of clicks surrounding the shelter. Zyra's eyes narrowed. The hunt has truly begun. Asterisk. The clicking grew louder, echoing off the stone walls of the old shelter. Jack tightened his grip on the alien weapon, his palms damp with sweat. Zyra stood near the entrance, blade ready. Her eyes locked on the shadows outside, through the bond. Jack felt her focus like a steady flame, calm but deadly. It steadied his own nerves, though his heart still pounded in his chest. The first Drawl leaped through the entrance without warning, its black armored body twisting mid-air. Zyra moved, instantly meeting it with a slash that sent sparks flying. Jack fired his weapon, the beam punching through another figure, trying to push inside. The air was filled with the sound of screeches, the heavy thud of claws hitting stone, and the sharp ring of metal striking metal. The fight was fast, brutal, and close. Jack and Zyra moved like they had trained together for years, each one instinctively covering the other's blind spots. When Jack ducked under a wild swing, Zyra was already stepping in. her blade cutting deep into the attacker's side when she turned to face two enemies at once. Jack fired over her shoulder without hesitation. It wasn't just teamwork. Was the bond guiding them? Their minds almost one. Jack could feel her intent before she acted, and she could feel his. It was strange, unnatural. But in the middle of battle, it was the difference between life and death. One drow spear glanced off Jack's arm, burning a shallow cut into his skin. Zyra gasped at the same moment. Feeling the pain through their connection, it only seemed to make her fight harder, her movements faster, her strikes more precise, within minutes. The shelter's entrance was littered with still forms, their bodies heavy against the stone floor. The rest of the attackers fled into the jungle, their clicking fading into the distance. Jack leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Zyra stood beside him, her chest rising and falling, but her eyes still sharp, scanning the entrance that was. Intense, Jack said, his voice low. Zyra glanced at him. And it will happen again. He nodded, wiping sweat from his face. I figured as much. You fought well, she said. Your aim is true. Jack smirked faintly. And you're terrifying with that blade, for the first time since they met. She gave a small, genuine smile. It was quick, almost gone as soon as it appeared. But Jack noticed they didn't rest long. Zyra began gathering what little supplies were left in the shelter, old rations, a cracked water container, a worn map, carved into a slab of stone. This shows a path to the tower, she explained. It will take us through the canyon. Jack looked at the rough carvings, and the canyon is safe. She didn't answer right away, which told him everything. It is not safe, she admitted, but it is faster, and we have little time. They left the shelter before the sun shifted in the strange green sky. The jungle gave way to rocky ground, jagged cliffs rising on either side. The canyon mouth loomed ahead, dark and narrow. The air inside cooler but carrying a faint metallic scent. Every step echoed off the walls, the sound making Jack uneasy. Zyra kept her weapon ready, her senses sharp. Through the bond, Jack felt her constant awareness. Her readiness to strike at the first sign of danger. Halfway into the canyon, they heard the low, rumbling growl of something large. It came from deeper inside, followed by the scrape of claws against stone. Zyra slowed, motioning for silence. Jack adjusted his grip on the weapon, his eyes scanning the dim light ahead. The growl came again, this time closer. Then it stepped into view, a massive predator, its body covered in thick, scale-like armor, its jaws lined with sharp teeth that glistened in the light. Jack froze for a moment, feeling Zyra's fear ripple through him. But beneath it was something. Al's calculated focus, the creature charged. Zyra moved left, Jack right, both reacting in perfect sync. The predator's jaws snapped where Jack had been a moment before, the sound echoing like a crack of thunder. Zyra's blade flashed, slicing across its leg. Jack fired a shot into its side, the beam burning through its hide. The creature roared, swinging its massive tail and slamming Jack into the canyon wall. Pain exploded through him, and he knew. Zyra felt it too, her face tightening in shared agony. But instead of slowing her, it drove her forward. She leaped onto the creature's back, driving her blade down between the plates of its armor. The beast thrashed, trying to shake her off. Jack staggered to his feet, aimed, and fired again. This time at its head. The beam pierced its skull, and the predator collapsed with a final shudder. Zyra jumped clear, landing lightly on her feet. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Jack let out a breath. You okay? Yes, she said, but so are you. Thanks to both of us, they dragged the creature's body to the side, clearing the path. Jack's muscles ached, and every breath hurt, but there was no time to rest. They pressed on, the canyon narrowing, until the walls seemed to close around them. At the far end, a faint light glowed the way out. Zira glanced back at him. We are closer now, but the drawl will not stop. Jack met her gaze. Then neither will we. For the first time, there was no hesitation in his voice. And through the bond, Zira felt a trust, real and solid. It was the beginning of something neither of them could name yet, but both knew was growing stronger with every fight they survived. They reached the end of the canyon just as the strange green sun dipped lower in the sky. The air beyond was cooler, the wind carrying the faint scent of rain. Jack stepped out first, scanning the open land ahead. A vast plain stretched out, covered in tall silver grass that shimmered in the fading light. Far in the distance, a thin spire rose toward the sky, the signal tower Zira had spoken of. That's our way home, Jack said, pointing toward it. Zira stepped beside him, her gaze fixed on the tower. If we can reach it before they reach us, they started across the plain, the grass whispering around their legs. It was easier walking than the jungle or the canyon, but it felt too exposed. Jack kept glancing over his shoulder, half expecting to see the drawl cresting the ridge behind them. Through the bond, Zira felt his unease. We will make it, she said quietly. If we move fast, her words helped. But Jack could sense something else in her, something she wasn't saying. He didn't press. Not yet. Hours passed, the sun sliding lower until the sky burned in shades of gold and purple. They stopped only once to drink from a stream that cut through the grass. Jack's legs ached, his body still sore from the fight. In the canyon, Zira moved with steady grace, but he could feel her exhaustion too. As they walked, Jack noticed her stealing glances at him. Finally, he said, "All right, what is it?" "You've been looking at me like you want to say something." She hesitated, her fingers brushing the hilt of her blade. "There is truth I have not told you," she said slowly. "Because I feared it would make you turn away." Jack stopped. "Walking after everything we've been through, you think I'd turn away?" Zira's eyes lowered. "This is not just about me being hunted. 'Tis about what I carry." She stepped closer, her voice low. "I am not only a warrior. I was the royal guard to the high council of my people." Jack frowned. "Royal guard? So you were protecting someone important." Her gaze met his. "Not someone. Something." She lifted her hand to her chest. "There is a secret in my blood. A code locked deep within my cells. A code the drawl had been trying to obtain for decades." Jack's mind raced. A code? For what? He asked. "For awakening." "The gate," Zira said, her tone like steel. "An ancient construct that can open paths between worlds in seconds." Jack felt a chill. "So they want you to." "What?" "Activate it for them." She nodded. "Yes. And now that your blood is in me, the code has changed." Jack blinked. "Changed?" Zira's expression was serious. "It is no longer mine alone. It is ours." The weight of her words hit him like a punch. "So what you're saying is, they don't just need you anymore, they need me." "Yes," Zira said softly. "And they will hunt you even if I fall, because now you carry part of the key." Jack let out a bitter laugh. "Great. So saving your life just painted a bigger target on my back." "I did not choose this," Zira said, her voice tight with emotion. "But I will protect you as you have protected me." They began walking again, the tower still far in the distance. Jack's mind kept turning over her words. Through the bond, he could feel her sincerity, the weight of her promise. But he could also feel something else, fear. Not of the drawl, but of losing him. It was strange. Comforting even, he glanced at her. "So, this bond, this code, does it mean we're stuck together forever?" Zira's lips curved faintly in your human words. Yes, they reached a small rise in the plain just as night began to fall. The silver grass swayed under the touch of a cold wind. Zira stopped suddenly, her head tilting. Jack felt it too, a shift in the air. The faint thrum of approaching danger. Drawl, she whispered. Jack turned, scanning the darkness. Far away. Points of red light moved through the grass, weaving closer. They've found us, he said, his voice grim. Zira drew her blade. Then we run until we cannot. They sprinted across the plain, the grass whipping against their legs. The red lights grew brighter, the clicking sounds carrying on the wind. Through the bond, Jack felt Zira's heart pounding in rhythm with his. Every muscle in his body screamed, but he pushed harder. The tower loomed closer now, its base faintly lit by glowing panels, but between them and the tower stood a low ridge of black stone. Zira pointed. We cross there, we'll slow them. They scrambled up the ridge, the sharp rock cutting at their hands. Halfway across, a Drawl warrior leaped from the shadows, its spear thrusting toward Jack's chest. Zira blocked it. The clash of metal ringing in the night. Jack fired his weapon, the beam slicing into the Drawl's side. It fell with a hiss, but more were coming, their red eyes glinting in the darkness. They fought their way across the ridge, every step a struggle. At last, they reached the other side, dropping into the grass beyond. The tower was only minutes away, but Jack knew the Drawl would not stop until either they were dead or captured. They didn't speak as they ran the final stretch. Zira's focus burned through the bond, and Jack matched her stride for stride when they reached the base of the tower. Zira placed her hand on a glowing panel. The metal hummed ancient symbols, lighting up in response. This is it, she said. Once activated, we can call for your people if they are near enough to hear. Jack glanced back at the moving red lights in the distance. Let's hope they're listening, he said. Zira's fingers moved across the panel, the tower responding with a deep, resonant tone. High above, a bright beam shot into the sky, cutting through the night. Far away, the Drawl screeched in anger, but they kept coming. Zira turned to Jack, her eyes fierce. Whatever happens next, stay with me. Jack nodded, gripping his weapon. Through the bond, he felt her fear, her hope, and something else, something deeper she wasn't ready to name. And in that moment, he knew he would follow her anywhere. The signal tower's beam cut through the night sky like a sword of light. Its deep hum echoed across the plains, carrying far beyond the horizon. Jack stood with his weapon ready, his eyes fixed on the ridge they had crossed. The red lights of the Drawl hunters moved steadily closer, like a swarm of angry embers. Zira stood beside him, her blade glinting in the glow of the tower. Through the bond, Jack felt her determination harden into steel. There was no hesitation in her, only the will to stand and fight. They will come with everything they have, Zira said quietly. Jack gave a short nod. Then we give them everything we've got. The first Drawl appeared over the ridge, its tall black-armored frame silhouetted against the faint moonlight. It let out a shrill screech, and more followed, spilling over the ridge like a tide. Jack's grip tightened on the weapon, his pulse racing but steady. The bond carried Zira's calm focus into him, grounding his fear. They stood their ground as the swarm charged, the clicking of their claws mixing with the hiss of their weapons. The first wave hit hard. Zira met them head-on, her blade slicing in fast, controlled arcs. Jack fired into the crowd, every shot finding its mark. The bond sharpened their timing when she moved aside. He fired into the gap. When he ducked, she stepped forward to block. The ground shook with the force of the fight. Drawl weapons clashed against Zira's blade, their spears sparking against Jack's energy shots. One of them lunged at Jack from the side, but before he could react, Zira was there, her blade cutting it down. He felt the rush of her protection like a warm surge in his chest, but the Drawl kept coming, wave after wave. Jack's arm ached from firing, and sweat dripped down his face. Zira's breathing grew heavier, but her movements stayed precise. Every injury either of them took rippled instantly through the bond. A cut along Jack's arm made Zyra flinch, and a blow to her side made Jack gasp. Still, they fought on, neither willing to break the line. A deep roar shook the ground, louder than any screech they'd heard before. Both turned to see a massive figure emerge from the Reja Droll war leader. Its armor thicker, its weapon a massive two-pronged spear crackling with energy. It moved with terrifying speed for its size. Swatting Lesser Droll aside as it came straight for them, Zyra's eyes narrowed. He is here for me. Jack stepped forward. Then he'll have to go through me first. The war leader struck, the force of the blow sending Jack skidding back across the dirt. Pain shot through his body. And Zyra cried out as the bond shared it with her. She charged, her blade meeting the war leader's spear in a burst of sparks. Jack scrambled to his feet, firing at its exposed flank. But the armor deflected most of the shots. The leader turned, slamming the butt of its weapon into the ground, sending a shockwave that knocked them both back. Jack's ears rang, his vision swimming, but Zyra's voice cut through the haze. Together, they moved as one, the bond guiding their steps. Zyra feinted left. Drawing the leader's attention, Jack darted to the right, firing a precise shot into a gap at the creature's knee joint. It roared, staggering, and Zyra leaped forward, driving her blade deep into its side. The leader swung wildly, catching Jack across the chest. The pain was blinding, but he stayed on his feet, firing again and again. Finally, Zyra's blade found the gap in the leader's chest armor, piercing through. The war leader froze, its glowing eyes dimming before it collapsed with a heavy thud. The remaining Droll hesitated, their leader gone. Some hissed and retreated into the darkness, while others pressed forward with desperate fury. Jack and Zyra fought them back step by step, until the last of them fled into the plains, their red lights vanishing over the ridge. Silence settled over the tower, broken only by the hum of its signal. Jack lowered his weapon, his hands shaking. Zyra stood still for a moment, her blade at her side, before she let out a slow breath through the bond. Jack felt her exhaustion, her relief, and something deeper warmth that wasn't just about survival. "You're hurt," she said, moving to check his chest. "I've been worse," Jack replied, though the ache in his body said otherwise. Her hands lingered longer than necessary. Her eyes meeting his, the bond hummed between them, stronger than ever. "We survived," she said softly. "For now," Jack answered. "Let's just hope your signal reached someone." High above, the beam still burned bright against the night sky, somewhere far away. Ships might already be turning to war, the more perhaps no one had heard at all. Jack didn't know, but he knew one thing for certain. If the Droll came again, they would fight. Not because they were bound by blood, but because they had chosen to stand together. And that choice felt stronger than any bond asterisk. The tower's beam cut through the clouds, still sending its silent cry into the stars. Jack stood at the base, his weapon hanging loosely at his side, his body aching from every fight they had faced. Zyra moved slowly beside him, her hand resting on the tower's control panel, her breathing steady but heavy. Through the bond, he could feel her pain, exhaustion, and determination mixing into one. They had survived the night, but dawn was still far away, and danger could return at any moment. The plain was quiet now, the silver grass swaying gently under the cold wind. The ridge behind them was dark, no red lights moving in the distance. Jack tried to convince himself it was over, but the bond told him Zyra was not convinced. "They will come again," she said quietly, not looking at him. "Then we'll be ready," he replied. Though he wasn't sure if his body could take another fight, still, he meant it, and she felt that truth through the connection. Hours passed in tense silence. Jack's eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of ships. Zyra sat near the base of the tower, her blade resting across her knees, her gaze fixed on the sky. The bond carried her thoughts to him, not words, but feelings, hope, fear, and something warmer that lingered whenever. Her eyes drifted his way. Finally, she broke the silence. Jack. When I said the bond was for life, I meant more than survival. He glanced at her. What do you mean? She hesitated, as if weighing her words in my people's history. The life bond was never meant to be used only for healing. She said, her voice low. It was a joining of souls. Jack frowned. So, you're saying this isn't just some alien blood transfusion thing? Her gaze locked on his. No, it is deeper, far deeper. My life is tied to yours, and not just in death, but in purpose. Jack felt the weight of her words settle over him. The bond hummed between them, and for the first time, he didn't just feel her emotions, he saw flashes in his mind, her memories. Sharp and clear, her homeworld's shining towers, her people's laughter in the sun. The oath she swore to protect the High Council, the battles she had fought. Alone, and then the fear. The moment she fled from the drawl. The moment she thought she would die alone on the jungle floor, until he found her. Jack exhaled slowly. You think this is fate? Zira tilted her head. You do not believe in fate, he shook his head. I believe in choices. And I chose to save you. A small smile touched her lips. And I choose to stay with you, even when my people call me home. Before he could answer, the bond shivered with sudden alertness. They both turned toward the sky. Far above, a faint glimmer of light broke through the clouds, growing brighter. Closer, a ship, its silhouette cutting through the greenish atmosphere. Jack's chest tightened. That's human design. Zira rose to her feet, watching as the ship descended, its engines kicking up waves through the silver grass. You are going home, she said softly, though there was a shadow in her tone. The ship touched down a short distance away, its hatch opening with a hiss. 3 armored figures stepped out, human soldiers with rifles at the ready. The lead soldier called out, Jack Halden. We received your signal. Jack stepped forward, relief flooding through him. But before he could answer, Zira's hand caught his arm, through the bond. He felt her fear of being left behind. They will take you, she whispered. And they will not take me. Jack turned to face her fully. Then, I'm not going without you, he said. Her eyes widened slightly. Jack. Your people, I don't care, he cut in. We're bound, remember? Life or death. Together, she stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Then together, she said. The soldiers approached, glancing between them. One raised an eyebrow at Zira. And who's this? Jack didn't hesitate. She's with me. And she's coming aboard. The soldier looked like he might argue, but one look at Jack's expression made him drop it. They led them toward the ship, the hum of its engines growing louder as they stepped inside. Zira's hand brushed Jack's, the bond sparking with warmth. It wasn't just relief, was trust, deep and unshakable. The ship lifted off, the ground falling away beneath them through the small viewport. The signal tower grew smaller until it vanished into the silver plains. Jack sat across from Zira, the cabin lights casting soft shadows across her face for the first time since the crash. Her shoulders relaxed. You gave me your blood, she said quietly. But you also gave me hope and a reason to fight again. Jack held her gaze. And you gave me something I didn't know I needed. What is that? She asked. He smiled faintly. You, the bond pulsed gently between them, warm and steady. They didn't need more words. Whatever came next, whether it was war, peace, or something in between, they would face it together, because what had started as survival had become something far deeper, something unbreakable.